Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to OnFest 2013 with Kalu's OP and Bulgaria's finest. I am Pulse and I am joined by Spuddington.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be here. This is the second semi-final, I believe. So, should be an interesting game. We have seen a little bit of both of these teams previously. Have seen that definitely Shen is a very popular pick between them. But regardless, we have got the bands coming out. Corky, Evelyn, Elise, and should be seeing the next one within 8 seconds. Vi.
Yeah, there's lots of bans out that are very, very common and something that's almost banned out every game. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Vi not banned out in this tournament so far. Elise is another one of those staple ban outs, those blanket bans definitely for those Eastern Europeans, and Evelyn as well also seen. It's kind of interesting because I'm thinking, well, if Evelyn did get through the banning phase, what would they run her in? Would they run her in the jungle and try and do like the submarine thing with Shen, and then like Evelyn Shen initiates, which are really, really strong. So kind of interesting that we don't really see those interesting things come out. But Zed will also be the next ban, waiting on the last ban coming in from Kalu's OP, and that will be Shen.
Well, interestingly enough, we did actually see the exact combo you were thinking of yesterday with Shen and Evelyn on the same team. Don't quote me on this, but I think it was actually Bulgaria's finest that ran that combo. But these champions we've been seeing time and time again. Ashe, much more popular here than in most places, but Ashe with that Zyra in the bot lane sometimes, but this time it's been picked away from them. The Ahri is very popular, Lee Sin is very popular, Sona very popular. Characters though like, say, Nami, Blitzcrank, even Thresh, I haven't seen a lot of.
Yeah, at least their tier system in terms of supports is very different, and also the AD carries. I think for the rest of the map it's a little more standard and very similar to what we see in EU West, but definitely the bot lane mechanics are very different. So yeah, Zyra will be coming out. We also saw a lot of Caitlyn with Zyra, which is again very staple of the bot lane. We see that quite a lot, and also with the Lee Sin in the jungle. Generally it tends towards someone who is exceptionally good mechanically with the Lee Sin to kind of make it work. And then, yep, indeed, the Caitlyn will be picked up. So looking towards the top lane, which will indeed be Renekton.
Alright, so just giving themselves some fairly wide open choices there, with the Kassadin potentially coming in for the mid lane. That's not a bad matchup for Kassadin directly one-on-one. We'll see what they can make it work with. But I believe, okay, like there was a team that is in the semi-finals, I'm fairly confident of that ran Ashe, Zyra, and they ran Kassadin, and I'm pretty sure they ran Lissandra as well. But this team, certainly from Bulgaria's finest, kind of is very reminiscent of that, even though the champions aren't necessarily the same. They ran a really hard engage comp, and they ran a really mobile comp. It was a really, really strong one because it had both that ability to team fight effectively, but also really strong picking potential. So it was a very, very well thought out team, and this one is certainly reminiscent of that.
Yeah, and everyone seems to like their hard engage compositions, like Ashe coming out along with the Sona follow-up and also Kennen. Like they're very not only protect the carry but team fight orientated, and then they have like early game security in Lee Sin. And then on Kalu's OP they have, well, potentially the Jarvan pickup, also the Renekton, so they've got a beefy front line, but also the Jarvan for the initiate, counter initiate in the form of Zyra, or even locking on top of Cataclysm. And then again, an assassin. So, very well-rounded teams and fill very similar roles. I would say the initiation is slightly stronger from Bulgaria's finest, of course with the Ashe Arrow. Potentially an Insec if we see that coming out from the jungler. But at the same time, like, hello, is that Rammus?
Ooh,
yeah, and that
yes.
won't be a placeholder either because this is tournament client. So, okay, that's interesting.
The spice is right. That's a spicy pick there. Having Rammus on your team is a declaration of intent. You are going to gank the heck out of every lane. His strength is literally only in ganks. His jungle clear is terrible, but with the mobility from his movement speed, with the mobility you can get from with mobility boots, and that 3-second taunt when it is maxed, he is such a scary ganking champion on any character, and with characters like Ashe in this game, the no escape AD carry, she is so vulnerable to that kind of play. She cannot get a big enough slow on him to stop him from powerballing into her, and Kassadin is also vulnerable.
Yeah, pretty much no one can stop a Rammus when he's powerballing towards you, and Rammus as well, like, Okay, he has a lot of pitfalls in that he's Rammus, and then when he gets to team fights, at least in the early game, his tremors will do him well. It will be enough damage to make him relevant. But when you get into late game, he has the ability to taunt someone and lock down the AD carry, or like the AP carry, which is perfect. But it's very difficult to even get there, because Rammus doesn't have a gap closer apart from Powerball, and he can't Powerball through Lee Sin. So the chance of him ever taunting Ashe, unless he uses his flash as well, but even then, his front line, the front line from Bulgaria's Finance would be way too strong. So that's also an issue. I doubt Kasten would waste his North Sphere on Rammus, just trying to get him away from locking someone up, but I could see him being very effective against Kennen, making sure that when he does like barrel in with Lightning Rush straight into Slicing Maelstrom, that Rammus can then taunt him, and then he can at least mitigate it for 1 to 2 seconds, and then they can nuke him down. That's something I could potentially see in team fights.
Yeah, Rammus is a champion that transitions strangely, essentially, because he, as you mentioned, lacks in terms of threat, and he lacks in terms of gap closing in open ground, but his ability to start favourable fights for his team remains incredibly strong because of that ability to close an enormous gap of distance over a longer period of time. It's not like a blink where you engage suddenly and you're just on them, but you can get into situations where Rammus is going to chase you down and you cannot possibly escape it, and he forces those situations, even late game, very effectively. That limits the mobility of his opponents, but if they are in an open field, if they're able to force that situation to happen, then it can get really, really interesting, much like this potential level 1, which kind of hasn't happened.
Yeah, Bulgaria's Finance just placed down the ward. They find themselves Renekton, and the fact that they were revealed was not something they really wanted to follow up upon. But, in fact, nope, they're going around the top side, so, oh no, it's going to be the ward. Alright, so I was like, okay, they're still going for the invasion, and double mind games coming out. But another thing you can do with Rammus is run teleport, go home guard, and initiate from behind them. And then it is like a dash Wellington.
It is, you get up to easily over 1,000 movement speed if you do that, and that is hilarious, but he is not going to be doing that this time. It's worth noting though, seriously, if you do get home guard and you powerball, your recall like turnaround time is much, much quicker than any other champion. You get back in, you got the 8-second recall, yes, you buy your item, maybe that takes you 2 more seconds, and then it's like 3 seconds to get back into the lane. It's ridiculous how fast you can get to places if you go for mobility home guard. That being said, that makes you squishy, and he may not want to be too squishy in when he's trying to clear any kind of jungle if he's up against a Lee Sin.
It's true, but if he's going all in, because Rammus is a very all-in pick, then you might as well just go for those home guard mobility and just be like, well, if I'm going to win the early game, then I'm going to do it with style, and it can potentially work. Okay, they swapped up the Zyra and the Caitlyn into the mid lane against Kasten, so just trying to shut him down. They also have the Rammus there. I guess with the Ahri it would have been a more difficult gank lane, but even with the taunt into Charm, I don't dislike that as a gank lane, but I think the fact that Kasten will be suppressed by Caitlyn and Zyra is actually detrimental to Rammus' ganks, because he'll never be able to, well, really gank Kasten, because he'll always be sat at his turret unless they go for a tower dive, which is quite risky.
However, this might be reflected in his jungle path right now. He wanted to be alert for the possibility of going to that bottom lane. Yes, Ahri is probably not going to be wanting to get a gank immediately, but they could have been in a better situation for this had the lane moved a little bit differently. And Ahri is going to be able to farm under that tower anyway. Now Rammus is basically going to have to focus that bottom lane to keep it alive and the top lane to get Renekton snowballing. It's a skill matchup between the two of them. Will be kind of, it's one of those kind of iffy lanes, I think, for Renekton, but it's very much dependent on Kennen getting an early advantage.
Yeah, I feel that Kennen has a slight advantage in that if Renekton aggresses onto him, then he will have Lightning Rush, and it's fairly difficult to lock down the Kennen. He's actually backing off. I think he was tagged by a ward yet in the river, so he's not able to get the gank just yet. But Rammus has very few ganking opportunities as a result of not going for this lane swap up, which is, I honestly think, has hurt Kalu as OP. If they're gonna go for a Rammus pickup, then you need to be constantly ganking and making something happen. As it is, they've kind of forced themselves into either going for a tri-lane like they are right now in mid, and trying to push down the tower because Lee Sin is doing the same thing at bot lane. And that kind of edges it towards more of a roaming phase, and that's really not what Kalu as OP want. They want it to maintain the lane phase as long as possible to get those ganks with Rammus. Yes, he can go for the initiates, but the early game is good, but Bulgaria's finest benefit more from it being in roaming phase.
However, if they are able to take this mid tower now on this push, that will give them more map control than their opponents. And yes, they're having that extended laning phase would be very valuable to them. But at the same time, Rammus in the mid game is still very strong at instigating ganks, instigating picks. If they send Caitlyn and Zyra back down, and this could get interesting very quickly because they have been spotted out here, he's going in for the taunt.
Yeah, Lee Sin actually follows up with Resonating Strike. Good safeguard actually to Sona. Got out fairly scot-free. They didn't quite chain the Grasping Roots and Taunt at the right time. They kind of just put them on top of each other. So, in the bot lane... Wait, what?
Top. There was an Ignite and a stun on Kennen, who is now very, very low and leaving.
I thought you said bot lane. I was like, nope, that's Ash recalling.
I said top lane. I'm pretty confident I said top. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I was possessed by the spirit of someone with very large bottoms.
Oh, our producer said bot, so 1-0 Spuddington.
Fine, butthole. So regardless, it's going to be, Renekton just recalling from that top lane. He did force Kennen out, but he did blow his Ignite. Kennen blew his Flash. Does mean he's actually probably going to be better off in a trading situation. A lot more vulnerable to the Rammus now, though.
Indeed, and Kennen, they really need to start things happening, like get the ball rolling, excuse the pun, onto top lane, because if that doesn't happen, then Renekton is going to have a hard time. Like, he's already ahead of Kennen, which is good, but Rammus's effect in this game has been fairly small, and Rammus is a lot more all-in than the Lee Sin pick. Like, Lee Sin does have to do well early, like, he has to be aggressive, and Rammus can't really afford to have himself countered out and cancelled. Like, those two junglers can't cancel each other out because they need to make sure plays happen. Specifically Rammus, because Lee Sin will have a little bit more utility, or at least his utility is more easy to use than Rammus's in teamfights.
Yeah, but again, it's this question of, do you want to go for team fights or do you want to go for picking potential? Because yes, Lee Sin is strong in a picking situation, but I don't think anything matches Rammus in terms of picking potential short of Kassadin. And you're not going to see a jungle Kassadin anytime soon, just on the grounds that a 3-second taunt coming out of that movement speed is so powerful. Kalu OP's bot lane are going to fall back right now. But they do have the vision control of the dragon, so they're not too concerned at the moment.
Yeah, there is a lot of counterplay though to blocking Rammus, like flashing in front of him or just using yourself as a meat shield, which makes Rammus very difficult to get out the back lines regardless. But if you do catch them with their pants down, it could be good. And in the top lane, he's actually flashing over the wall. He's looking for the bump, lands it, gets the taunt down. Zika following up with the Ruthless Predator. Slicing Maelstrom finally comes in. He's locked up underneath turret as well. The last auto attack, it will be enough. First blood picked up by Shady OP. Now the teleport comes in from Kassadin. Northsphere comes out. He doesn't have the cooldowns. They're so long from Renekton. He's turning this one around. Slice and dies. Auto attack. Picks up one. Moving on to Kassadin. He doesn't have to fight this if he doesn't want to. 1-for-1 trade. Very well played by Zika.
Yeah. And
meanwhile, in the mid lane. And Inksy trading off with Cav OP. Looking for those auto attacks. He has the red buff. Connects the Q. And now Spirit Rush has finally been popped by Inksy.
Yeah, so a messy fight in that top lane. You got to question the call by Kalu GG to go in the first place, but Zika's turnaround was classic Renekton town. That was just what happens if you overcommit on Renekton. He kills you, and he kills you all because a lot of his damage is AoE, and that's alarming, scary, very good in a persistent fight as well. So I'm kind of trading evenly there, but that does put Rammus further behind, and he's already a level behind that Lee Sin. I suspect Lee Sin is nearly... actually, no, it's almost exactly a level, so I was thinking Lee Sin would be a little bit further ahead, but he's going to be in position if they want to go for this blue steal.
Yeah, he's kind of sitting around, making sure that mid lane's not there, but with Zyra and Caitlyn coming up, he's jumped over maybe prematurely. He could be called out here. Kalu GG. He's charging up the... Nope, he's not charging up the power ball. Nope, this is going to go on to blue buff. But Lee Sin forced to use the flash.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate for him there. Did not perhaps check all of the factors that were available to him there. He definitely should have known that the bot lane was missing and could have maybe inferred they would have gone to check there. Regardless, though, he lives to fight another day. And Kassadin will be just... I thought he was going to pick up blue buff, but he's not going to. I suspect that will be prepared for him by his manservant. Oh, Ash Arrow!
Ash arrow lands onto Inksy. We saw this yesterday as well. So on point. Lee Q misses on the stationary target. Kalu's still heading in. Gets knocked back. Dragon's Rage comes down. Inksy gets on out of there. Cover, please.
That was, I hesitate to say this, but inexcusable. Missing a point-blank target is something I would, like, not point-blank, a stationary target, and you know it's going to be stationary. Yes, there are reflexes. Yes, people have trained themselves to lead targets, but he was not moving for like 3.5 seconds. That was a max-range Ash arrow. A little bit questionable, but he gets away with his life, and I think we will be having someone thanking his lucky stars for that.
Yeah, I was going to make a maths joke, but it didn't really make sense. So, in the top lane, Zika, he's still farming away, 63 farm. He's about 2 waves ahead of Kennen, which is pretty good for a Renekton. I mean, I feel that in that matchup, Kennen has a slight advantage, but Renekton, if he's doing well, he's doing well. And it's very difficult to shut down Renekton when the ball was rolling. Like, as soon as he gets out of, like, the first couple levels, and it's worth mentioning his first couple levels all-in is very good, but when he's at the stage where he can, like, all-in you whenever, then you kind of, it's difficult, but it's become more of a farming lane because they are so dominant as top laners. Kalu GG, but looking for this top lane gank. Okay, so they ping the ward, and Kalu's thinking, okay, so if I charge the power ball, how much distance can I close? Because, of course, his power ball gets progressively faster the longer it's running. So if you leave it for like 1 second, it's like, okay, can I reach Kennen in time before my power ball runs out? But will I be fast enough before he can't react?
And that's kind of what separates good Rammus players from great Rammus players. It also separates the people that have never played Rammus from people that have played him at all, because very few people play Rammus. I actually think Malunu does, by the way. But Rammus is, like I say, really, really scary in these situations. And they're actually going to be able to go for this dragon here, I believe. No, they shouldn't. No, they can't. They're just getting vision control. Sona could get caught, though.
Yeah, they're definitely power balling towards her. Sona, what does she have in arsenal? She has the flash. Crescendo comes across, hits Shim in the face. Questionable. I'm not really sure if she needs to do Crescendo, but that's a big ultimate down, and Kalu was OP are going to read that.
Well, Kalu GG was going to catch up to her if he carried on going straight, but he read her intention to Crescendo, dodged out of the way with that movement speed, and got away with it. Lee Sin will find Inksy.
Yeah, or maybe Inksy has found Cav OP, but Cass is now coming in from the top side. Lands his standard combo. Ash Arrow once again. Lands onto Rammus. Will it be enough damage though with the extra resistance coming in from defensive curl? Now Cav off to the side. Gets taunted. The blind taunt comes in. Picks up the kill. That's a 1-for-1 trade just as of yet. Caston's still backing off. A very critical HP. Kalu OP could still go for Dragon, but neither team are without the smites.
However, Zika has come down here. They will get this dragon. Kennen's going to take the opportunity to push out the top lane, and Sona is going to be running away for her life there. Kennen not going to be able to take that top tower on this wave, or indeed the next. I suspect Zika will be back up there pretty quickly. That fight was so predicated, though, in favor of Kalu's OP on the very narrow hit detection, which said that arrow hit Rammus and did not hit Ahri. Because if she had been stunned there, she would have been bursted down. I also have to question, there was a silence on Rammus when Ahri was like a Teemo behind him.
Yeah, it was odd, but either way, the game is still very neutral. They're all taking advantages from each other in these pick situations, and there's very little happening either way. So I think in that sense it's good, and we've seen both of these teams pretty much crush their opponents in the group stages. So it's kind of interesting to watch these two guys go head to head, and they do seem a lot more even, because we've said this in a lot of game splittings, where we say, well, this game looks a lot more even, and then like 5 minutes later it just snowballs out of control and they're 20k ahead.
Yeah, well, it's very easy once you've gotten a small advantage to keep taking small advantages, and that adds up very quickly. That's kind of how these things work. But I do feel right now that Inksy is playing with fire, or should that be ice, because Ashe was sitting in the mid lane. She has backed out now, though. Not going to have to worry about that long-range Ashe arrow initiate. She's kind of staying in on very little mana, but blue buff is up.
Yeah, Frosty. So now in the blue buff, I was just thinking the classic situation where Ahri is trying to take the blue buff and then she charms and it resets and it's very awkward. But charm, of course, yeah, they have now. But I remember a couple months back and it was just like an all tournament play. People just didn't realize, and And then we did see some counterplay. But in the bot lane, Cav is still looking for something to happen. We've noticed that Kassadin's actually swapped into the bot lane. The bot lane duo. In the top lane, the trade... no.
Slicing Maelstrom was used. I thought it was important. I'm sorry.
Who knows? And now in the bot lane, something is happening that's very important with the Stranglethorns coming up. It locks up too. Kassadin gets dropped. Cav are OP. He's trying to back off. They might be able to commit harder, but now with the mid lane coming down with Cillium and Thona, then they...
Yeah, I hit that exact problem a while back. I was like, how do you say Bezadeh?
Thona.
Yeah, Sona. Caster tips and tricks for those of you looking to get into casting. If a guy has a name that's really awful to say, just don't say it. It's simple.
Yeah, just call them by their champion name, or just say that guy. It's that's how you do it in professional
Dave
casting.
from accounting.
I mean, generally you will try and rehearse like team names, but because we didn't have a bracket, we don't know who we're going to be casting until like 30 seconds before. So we're just thrown in the deep end, and we're British and they're Bulgarian.
We don't have very similar, I want to say vocabularies, but maybe there is a phonemes, if you want the technical term. I remembered it for like the sounds in your languages that you use. It's, yeah. Are you interested? I'm interested. That's an interesting fact.
Is it maths? If no.
No. Now shut up. Nah! Ruthless Predator on top.
Yep, Auto Attack's come down. I think he's just trying to bully him out, and it's kind of just a show of, I'm Renekton, and I'm stronger than you, Pikachu, so he's just going to force him back to his tower, and Kennen's going to be farming underneath it. There's very little to say, but Renekton is still edging ahead in farm, but the top lanes just become an island, and this is so common in top lanes. They just kind of separate themselves, and nothing really happens for a long time. And in terms of scaling, honestly, Kennen does a lot better than Renekton. Renekton needs to either snowball or bully out his lane opponent. So I think by Kennen kind of cancelling him out and just farming, he's probably doing better in the long run.
Renekton or Croconor? Regardless, they are setting up for a 3-man gank on the top lane, but Lee Sin is coming in for the counter, and the teleport is up on Kassadin. This could get ugly.
This could get ugly so quickly. You could say Iggly. Now in the top lane, Kalu reveals himself from the brush, and more auto attacks come down. In fact, no, everyone's just going to run away from the convention.
Oh well, it's fair enough. Both sides there kind of were playing around each other. That does actually put Bulgaria's finest out a little bit ahead because they didn't have to commit Kassadin to that top lane to counter it out. And just the threat of the teleport was enough. So very nicely done there, but as it happens, not a hugely influential move.
I feel like the game is buckling. It's going to get to a point where everything's just going to erupt and we'll see one team take a very heavy advantage, because it's getting to the stage where it's so close that at any point in time, like a single kill will completely swing it. Because none of the fights we've seen, Spuddington, none of the objectives that have been taken have really made a giant impact on the game. In the top lane, still trading off once again. Zika going pretty deep onto Kennen. Kennen still has the slicing Maelstrom, but in return, Renekton has Dominus, which is very deceptive when you try to trade off against him. An extra 450 HP is nothing to sniff at.
Yeah, but now I want to draw attention to this bottom lane. Bulgaria's finest tower very quite low. It's quite low. Oh, top lane.
Yeah, and there's the Dominus, and that's why you can't trade up against Renekton. Survives with 200 HP. And now in the bot lane, Ashara comes across, hits Shim straight in the face. Teleport now coming from Kassadin. There's no way they can get anywhere. Now Stranglethorn's coming up, it locks up too. Now Kalu comes in along with Inksy. Spirit Rush comes out, picks up. In fact, doesn't pick up anyone. The kiting is really good. The damage jungle is strong. Ace in the hole, the friendship tester. And Sona, Beza something or a death is MVP at the moment with Kalu coming in from the side. But I'm not sure. Rammus, you don't have damage. You're Rammus.
Rammus actually does do a deceptive amount of damage, but yeah, on that one, I think he's actually exhausted.
Not without tremors. Maybe, but he didn't have tremors, and he just kind of rammed into them.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of questionable decisions, but I think unless I have invented a memory to prevent my memory of how much damage Rammus does being wrong, which is possible, by the way, psychology facts, yeah, Rammus there got exhausted, I think. So regardless, a decision that has ended in his death. He either failed to account for his damage or failed to account for the presence of exhaust. Either way, a mistake. And it is going to be the dragon, which is the major factor here, but Cover OP could be in trouble.
This is the second time that Cover OP has preemptively gone into a pit and realised that's the wrong decision. And now Rammus still around the corner. Kind of funny watching someone get taunted and have to walk all the way around until they've stopped being taunted. It was funny to me. Be quiet.
This is actually one of the issues with late game Rammus, by the way, is that if he can get a taunt on an AD carry, unlike with a melee AD champion, he can't pull them out of position unless he flashes backwards, which he's very unlikely to want to do because he's usually flashed to get in on the AD carry in the first place. He can lock them in place, but so long as he's within their auto attack range, they're not going to move because of the taunt.
Yeah, it's a very odd CC, because it's not like a stun in that they'll completely stand still and then you can collapse upon them. They kind of move a bit. So it's difficult, but you do have more leeway in terms of the Rammus play, where he can drag them about and drag them attacking wards. I didn't really, yeah, like, it's very odd because they changed dragon mechanics, but either way, well, Lee Sin over the wall and Caitlyn picks up the dragon. Neither of the junglers do, in fact. Dragon's Rage comes across. He's waiting for his cooldowns. 2 more seconds, Kava. You can do it. He's good. He's good.
He's out. There we go. Nailed it. Yeah, that was an interesting smite, but regardless, Caitlyn does pick that up, as you mentioned. Not really sure quite why.
Headshot damage.
Actually, really, there were 2 smites and they were both in range.
2 smites, 1 Caitlyn. But in the mid lane, Grassing Grids comes across and doesn't look like they're interested in stopping them from taking this. Renekton's not there, Ahri's not there, and they're just going to completely just concede the turn. Honestly, I think like a Piltover or maybe just the threat of Rammus might have been enough, but either way, they're just going to back on off and... okay, Bulgaria Finest is going to go ahead and recall.
Well, remember how scary this comp is from Bulgaria's Finest. If you're in a 3v5 and they could dive you, they can dive you. At any time they can start that off. Because they've got the Ash Arrow and their follow-up will be fast. They've got the full Kassadin burst. They've got the Kennen, the Lightning Rush, the Flash to jump in, slicing Maelstrom. If you are in that situation, being very, very cautious is something you have to do. Because Cillium has shown he is not afraid to make arrow pot shots.
Yeah, Cillium has been so on point. I think we've seen 2 really good arrows from like across the map, which have picked up 2 kills each time. So we could see again another one of those picks, but Under Tower is very, very dicey. I was looking at Renekton at the time, and yeah. So in the jungle, Ram's picking up with another red buff. Now in the mid lane, not too much happening. Let's take a look at item builds, Billington. So the Rod of Ages picked up by Kassadin, along with a Blasting Wand and Tear of the Goddess, fairly standard. I mean, sometimes you don't see the Rod of Ages as frequently on Kassadin as this game, but in Ahri we have the Abyssal Scepter. Makes sense. We've got the Kassadin on the other team, along with the double AP composition. Fairly standard for a lot of mid laners, if that's the case. But Kava OP in the top lane, assisting alongside Ken. A slicing Maelstrom comes out, but Dominus, it forces at least one back, and Kava OP just doesn't have the damage to deal with him. Ahri now coming up, Kassadin reacting, and the bot lane of Sona and Ashe. Rammus in the brush, and we've said this before, Spuddington, but this time I really think it will get messy.
Yeah, it's worth noting that without that Dominus, the actual DPS in a teamfight of Renekton just plummets like a stone. That thing does an alarming amount of damage. And now we're playing a very dangerous game. Remember, the Ash Arrow is up. Remember how strong that follow-up is. And with no Dominus threat, if Renekton dives into the middle, it's not nearly as scary to play against. I actually feel like Bulgaria's Finest could go for this, but they might just want to wait until they can land the perfect arrow, or they might just want to try and send Kassadin elsewhere to do some split pushing.
It might be in the next second, because as soon as Kalu's OP starts sieging the turret, they can initiate, because it has a little bit of HP, and there it is! Crescendo comes across, and now the Stranglefalls locks up 3! Shadow's OP gets dropped, and now they're going back in for more. Ahri comes in with the Spirit Rush, picks up another kill, and this has gone disastrously wrong for Bulgaria's Finest. Ace in that hole comes down, Cillium is still there, gets taunted, shut down for Rammus, and Bez alongside Eden looking to back off, and not really sure what you're looking for there, Kassadin, but he's going to have to get out with Riftwalk.
He was looking for those 5 people. Can you imagine if he jumped into that brush with like a 4-stack Riftwalk?
Yeah.
That would be ugly, but he's not going to be able to do that. He will have to respect the Caitlyn damage and the Ahri damage. I didn't notice before that fight. The reason Bulgaria's finest was so antsy about going in, they did not have Slicing Maelstrom available for that fight. And in the fact when they actually did go in, they did not take account of the cleanse from Sina, who was able to get himself out, and then actually put himself back in because he flashed the wrong direction. But he was able to get himself out of harm's way, and the Rammus lockup was really, really solid under that tower.
Yeah, and it was difficult. I mean, they were like, okay, we don't have Slicing Maelstrom, but they don't have Dominus, so is this a trade that we really want? And the answer is probably no. I mean, Kennen's ultimate is so good, not only in duelist scenarios, but in team fights. It's one of their key tools in their arsenal, essentially. So if they don't have that, I'm not even sure if they can team fight, and it was represented in that last fight up at top lane. But could see another one opening up, along with, well, Kennen now has his ultimate, so could definitely see it.
We'll see if they can make another fight happen in their favor. Kalu OP clearly showing they have a strong team fight there. It does seem like the hard initiate comp is not working because they don't have the momentum. If they don't do that initiate, they don't really have much that kind of works in their favor, and they're not doing a good enough job of applying pressure across the map to split up Kalu OP. Rammus is forming such a block, as is Renekton, that Caitlyn is free to damage, as is Ahri. It's difficult times for Bulgaria's finest, not Bulgaria as a whole.
Yeah, Bulgaria's finest are making the wise move of sending Kassadin up top lane, because as long as they can hold them off 4 versus 5, because their anti-siege is decent, but it won't hold off Kalu's OP forever. So if Kassadin can maybe take a tower top lane, it will make it more worth it. He does have the teleport as well, and the Astro comes across. They want the initiate. Crescendo lands onto 3, Slicing Maelstrom in the perfect place to split up the team. Will it be enough though? Inxie off to the side, forces the flash over the walls. You already, in fact, hasn't used his Spirit Rush. Finally, all the stacks have been used. That's a 1-for-1 trade onto support for their mid laner, or rather their top laner. Not sure if that was really worth it, but at least they repelled them from their tower. Kalu charging up his Powerball, but has been revealed by that ward.
Well, Kalu OP definitely came out the worst on the health front on that front, and Dragon is just spawning with that big top wave there. That's going to force Kalu OP into a difficult situation. They need to recall, they need to try and fight for that Dragon, and they need to deal with the top lane farm. I don't think they can juggle all those things at once, and Bulgaria's finest may capitalize if they do. So they will probably be able to take away this Dragon. If not, that wave is going to hit tower.
Look, Kalu's found them, and Zika from the side. This could be the game changer, and Lee Sin, he's jumped to Ashe. That's not over the wall, and the Dragon falls to Rammus, and Kassadin's in an awkward spot, and kinda just has to say goodbye to Ashe. Double kill comes in for Caitlyn, and the other kill onto Lee Sin, plus the Dragons come down. This could be a converted into a Baron play.
Could be, but I don't think they'll bother. They'll probably just go for towers right now. They don't need to risk that Baron when Kassadin and Kennen are still up. That's a little bit too scary for their taste. And opening up an inhib when they already have so much momentum, that is highly valuable to their team right now. Also, worth noting just how strong Caitlyn is. I had not really noticed, but she's been picking up kills across the board. 5-0-4 right now, Infinity Edge and a Zeal. She's pretty scary.
Yeah, she's been picking up the pace over the last couple of minutes, and the double kill probably didn't help matters at all. So now the Infinity Edge got 2.2k in her back pocket, so that could easily be the Phantom Dance, as we see here recalling very shortly. Actually going to go for the red buff first, and Kalu was OP. They're just looking strong. They're utilising their early game power curve, and they've just been riding it for a long time now, and they're starting to scale up into the late game. So they've never really felt the brunt of the mid game pinch, where Caitlyn is slightly weaker. Zika finds himself caught though, but they can't initiate on this, especially when they're split. They don't have their full members with them. Kalu is looking for the taunt, lands it onto Lee Sin. If they get the smite off them, this could be very valuable. Picks up one, Crescendo comes across, lands onto Inxie, has been exhausted as well, but Cillium can't afford to wait around. Another kill comes down onto Sona, gets locked up, Stranglethorns comes in, and Kennen can't get the ultimate off, so finally gets it down, but his team are already dead. Zonius comes out, he picks up one, he picks up the shutdown onto Renekton. Flash into taunt from Kalu, and gets another. Eden picks up the kill onto Rammus as he goes deep into his turrets. 4 for 2.
Again, not a good trade for Bulgaria's finest. Kassadin is starting to pick up a bit of gold here though. If he can utilize that, it will be strong. But part of the problem I think that Kastin is having with this game, and why he's not exerting that map pressure we normally see, is, and I know we keep harping on about the pick, but Rammus, if you think about it carefully, Rammus is one of the few champions in the game that can actually viably chase down a Kassadin through his Rift Walk and then still lock him up long enough for a normal team member to follow up. Especially when you've got Ari on your team, it means Kastin has to play a lot more cautiously. If he doesn't know where Rammus is, he can't be solo pushing a lane unless he's confident there's no follow up to help that Rammus get him killed.
I feel like one of the major factors in this game's Wellington is the fact that Kalu is OP always getting into the team fight where Bulgaria's finest find them and then they're running away. And their chasing is so good, especially with Rammus, Renekton and then Ari. They can pick someone off immediately. Like that last team fight, I'm not even sure whether to call it a team fight. It's kind of where they were chasing them down. They picked up the taunt onto Lee Sin, got a kill. Taunt onto Ashe, got a kill. He's now taunting Sona, but no one's really around. But it's just enough to kind of keep that presence on the map. And Bulgaria's finest are never really able to fight them on the 5-on-5, and now they're probably too far behind to do that anyway. So if they do find them and they need to contest something like this Baron, then Rammus is just going to find them, he's going to taunt them, and then they'll collapse on that single member, and that's suddenly a 4 versus 5.
Yeah, but it does look like Kalu OP are getting cold feet about doing this Baron. They backed away and then went back again. It feels like they're just going to get this Baron at this rate. No one is reacting. They've got the Hawk shot down. Let's see if they go for it. No. Baron should regenerate soon. That vision is not there, but they will check it again. And it does look like Kalu OP are just going to look for the speculative shot on Kava OP. Might catch him out here.
Yeah, if they get him with the Ari ultimate has been popped for that Endeavor. And Godlike will be Caitlyn 7-0-6, and it always seems Wellington like he just picks up kills, and we notice it, but then like after it's like, where did he get the other couple from? But now he's 7-0-6, he's godlike right now, and now they can definitely go for that Baron. There's no potential for them to steal that away.
However, that is giving Bulgaria's finest an opportunity to counter push. They will get 2 towers out of this at least, and that is a nice little bit of kind of recovery goal. Not gonna, make up for the Baron completely, and that is gonna mean Kalu OP will have a really good chance of being able to take down that middle inhib. But at least it's something. The goal difference hasn't increased as dramatically as it could have done from that play. And you can see Rammus with the home guard.
Yeah, OP tactics. He gets the taunt onto Kastin, will quickly dissipate, and now backing off. But even so, we still have Renekton coming around the side. Ashe is behind Kastin. They might be able to get down another taunt. The slow comes out again. It's not enough. The taunt doesn't quite connect, and they will just back up. But now with Baron buff, they can do pretty much anything they like. They can put down the aggressive wards, make sure that the entire jungle is covered. Go for all those buffs, and again, look for more picks. Rammus is determined. Not sure, I think he's too determined. Ashara comes in, looks for the kill. Auto attack picks it up. That Netherblade does a lot more damage than you expect it to.
It does demonstrate the point, though. It shows that Rammus can indeed chase down Kassadin. The Powerball cooldown was short enough that no matter how many times Kassadin rift walked away, Rammus was always able to catch up. He didn't necessarily have the taunt, and he didn't necessarily have the follow-up on that one, but he can certainly chase him down. That's something Kassadin is forced to respect. He does have the teleport now, though, so potentially in the future he'll be able to apply pressure and then TP out. For instance, if Rammus blows both Powerball and his taunt in the same attempt to kind of lock him down. But we'll see how Bulgaria's finest choose to go for this. They are actually currently being quite aggressive considering their opponents have got that Baron. They don't have much vision, but I guess they're not scared of Rammus and they're not scared of Renekton.
Yeah, I mean, they dropped Rammus before, and as you said, Renekton's in the top lane, so they didn't have anything to fear, and they're just taking good timing calls. I mean, that's all it was. It was a good call, it was good timing, and they take down the Dragon, they've taken down 2 turrets, they've evened up the turrets, probably evened up Drake's as well. But Rammus, with the rest of the team, picking up this blue buff, they're taking advantages, they can still afford to be aggressive in the jungle, but it's well played by Bulgaria's finest not to find themselves caught out.
Yeah, we'll see now. We will see. This seems to be my word for today. Regardless, Caitlyn is pushing down this tower with the rest of them. All of the outer towers and inner towers are gone. Kalu OP have a ton of armor on their team. Full more of Malmortius. Actually, there's a lot of MR on Renekton there. A little bit surprised to see that, but going in.
Yeah, Crescendo lands and maybe a little bit too aggressive from Solar. Drops immediately. Kava gets burnt down. And Shadi backs off. I mean, he still has his ultimate, but he can't 3 versus 5. This could be huge. Picks up the inhibitor turret, now moving on to the inhibitor itself. They could easily pick up another one in the downtime. Caston and Kennen, they still have their carries up. They're going to have to pull something very special out, but the tower's too low. Zika flash into Slice and Dice. Ruthless Predator comes down, and the taunt. Ace in the hole comes across and was not blocked by Kennen. Drops him very, very low and picks up the kill. Kennen backing off. He's used the ultimate defensively. Zika has done his job. And Shim, the rest of the team with Kalu's OP are very low, but this will be the second inhibitor for sure.
Yeah, with 2 inhibitors down and with such a giant advantage, Kalu OP seem to have taken control of this game very, very commandingly now. We can see them going back. We can see them picking up a lot of items. 8-0-7 Caitlyn, nearly 2k gold on several members. This is looking really, really bad for Bulgaria's finest. And Ramus going with the patented double Negatron cloak build. Might have been an accident, although there is now an undo function.
Yeah, so maybe... well, I can't think of a funny joke to actually add to that one, but he's just gone for a double Negatron cloak, because why not? I needed money with this, so I'll just go ahead and get it. Honestly, with an extra Negatron cloak, how much is that? It's about 700-ish gold, and then he had the Ruby Crystal, so he wouldn't have been able to finish the Spirit Visage, because I was like, why would you go for a second Negatron cloak if you could get a Spirit Visage?
Yeah, a little bit of an interesting decision, although it will give him more flat magic resist than a Spirit Visage. So... perhaps he just really didn't like the idea of dying at all, I guess. But regardless, he's got a ton of resistances, like absolutely amazing amounts when he's got his W active. I mean, he's already sitting at 118, 167. He'd go up to, what, 240 armor, 290 MR? Want to say that? Regardless, a lot of resistances, plus the map pressure. They are very, very capable of forcing 4-on-5s and then diving. And now the mobility that is some of Bulgaria's strength here in Kassadin is just not valuable.
Yep, Kalu again looking to pick someone off, and that front line is so beefy. He finds himself Kennen. Zonius is burnt before he uses ultimate. This is so bad. Inksy, Spirit Rush comes down, looks for the kill, gets it with the return of Orb Deception. Eden off to the side. And Ace Hole comes across. Will it be enough? Yes, it will be. Picks up another kill. Now 10-0. Double kill. The GGs are being called. That's a 5-0 for Kalu is OP. Not even close. And Bulgaria's finest, they put up a valiant effort, but in the end, Kalu is OP, taking too much of a commanding advantage.
Indeed. And they have taken the first game in this best of 3 series. So... nicely played, but it looked a lot more even for a lot of it. And you said it felt like we were building up to a breaking point. It felt like we were getting to a point where the game was going to snowball in one direction. And imagine if you'd had Ash being the one that was picking up those extra kills on the side. Could have gone very differently. Didn't do on this occasion. We will see how Bulgaria's finest adapt in the next game. We will get the players into the lobby, which should not take as long as it normally does. And we will see you as soon as we can, ladies and gentlemen.